Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Radio Toons podcast. How's it going?
It's going great, man.
This is a speed run of a podcast. We're going super
going
fast.
hard.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
Ernie, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did not.
Neither did I. So let's just
apparently not. Then I did a lot of people.
no. Let's just skip it. I actually heard it was very uneventful.
I heard the same only because now I don't know anything about football.
Right.
But from what I'm told, the Patriots. It was the Patriots v. Rams.
Okay.
The Patriots are insanely good.
Okay.
And so they've been to the Super Bowl I don't know how many times, and it's not a very good game because one is clearly better than the other, and they both play defense the whole time.
Yeah.
It's it's a defensive game.
I think it was Sean from Meg64 who was saying he's like, oh yeah, I like the Rams. They're not a very good team, and he's like, and this is the year that they were finally at the Super Bowl, and he was like, yeah, they suck. I don't really want to watch them. So I was like, okay, fair enough.
Well, at least he has realistic goals for his team.
Yeah, I heard SpongeBob got snubbed.
He didn't get snubbed. He got teased and used for from what I understand, 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was just, if anybody's been following that stupid Sweet Victory thing, there's a part in the cartoon where somebody points to SpongeBob and he does this little dance.
Yeah.
Where he just moves his hips and his hands back and forth. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the Sweet Victory thing. And I was like, they had a chance to do something kind of cool and memorable, and they just decided not to do it.
They decided to play sicko mode. Is that what it was? That's great.
They played Maroon 5, and apparently him taking off his shirt was a big deal.
Oh, I did see that actually, because people were talking about how fucking awful the performance was, and how I guess if you compare it to the last Super Bowl shows, I guess that's true, because people still talk about Janet Jackson and Timberlake, and then
but that was because of the
Katy
nipple
Perry,
slip.
Katy Perry though.
That one was I remember seeing that one.
Big shows.
She
and then
came
you have
in on a rocket or
something.
and
then you have Maroon 5 with his shirt off. So,
if you've ever seen there's actually a documentary, a small documentary about Michael Jackson doing the first halftime Super Bowl show, and it's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah,
because he produced the whole thing himself.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's actually pretty cool. But aside from that, this Super Bowl sucked. So there's not much to talk about.
I was gonna say, if you're putting Michael Jackson in the credits, it doesn't really say much to me, because I remember one time we watched Smooth Criminal. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
We watched all of it.
Oh my god.
And it was just like a fucking fever dream.
Are you talking? Wait, okay. So you're not talking about Smooth Criminal. What you're talking about is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Yeah. Dude, that shit sucked. That shit was it was borderline unwatchable. And I like stupid shit. I like horrible, campy shit. This was another level of this guy just thinks differently from me, and he likes this, and that's great, but it's just, I don't know who the audience for this is.
It's hard to describe what Moonwalker is, because the first half of it is 3 music videos? Is that what you would call them? But they're stories within music videos that have animation, claymation.
There's a weird claymation bunny or something, yeah.
Right, and then there's Michael Jackson dancing a bunch. And then he turns into Mr. Rogers at one point with the sweater, and he's playing with some kids in a field. And then somehow they stumble upon what's his name from Casino?
Robert De Niro?
No, not Robert De Niro. Okay. Joe Pesci.
Okay.
Joe Pesci's running guns and drugs and shit, and he's like, no, please, no, none of this guns and stuff. And then smash cut to Smooth Criminal, where he's gunning down a bunch of soldiers, and then running around, and he turns into a robot. It's a weird, and I'm hesitant to call it a movie.
It was definitely
the
fucking length of a movie. It was an hour, dude.
I made Steven watch it.
I felt like it, yeah.
I made Steven watch it, and he keeps turning to me and going, what am I fucking watching?
You know what was weird, though? I will say this, though. It was in parts on YouTube, and it kept auto-playing the next part, and I wasn't stopping it. I mean,
this train was running.
Yeah, I was sitting there watching it, and then it would cut in the middle of a scene, and I was like, well, I gotta see what's next. I mean,
where does this go?
I mean, is he gonna make it to the moon, or what's gonna happen when he gets there? I don't know.
I feel it's just a huge fever dream.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really nonsensical. Which is why I was I'm never gonna watch this again, but I guess it was interesting to watch once. But,
and it's one of those things where you would love to have been a fly on the wall when people are coming up, where Michael just kind of burst into a room. He's like, "What if I turn into a robot?" What?
Yeah. All right, guys, make it happen.
Guys, Michael wants to be turned into a robot. What do you mean he wants to be turned into a robot? We got kids and we got gun runners. When does he turn into a robot? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, he wants to work it into the story. How much are we paying Joe Pesci to do this? I don't know, but now he's got to deal with a gigantic metal Michael Jackson robot.
And I the Smooth Criminal section is actually cool.
That is probably the best fucking music video I've ever seen.
It's like
except, let me just say this, except for that one part in the middle where he shatters all of the windows, and then there's this weird moaning part.
Okay. Right.
And then he snaps everybody back in, and then they start dancing again.
Yeah.
Except if you cut that part out, it's like the perfect music video, man.
Yeah, it's just like Michael Jackson's just one of those people where it's like, you're good at music, dog. Just stick with that, you know? Like, you're good at music. We love your voice. You're really talented. Just stick with that. Like, you know, like you got the dancing too. You're a great dancer. Let's not do directing. Just leave that to the pros, you know, or like when didn't Bruce Willis have like a rap album or something, or like he sang?
God, he had a band, I believe.
Yeah, it's like just stick to acting, dog. All right, just please.
Kiefer Sutherland has a band.
Yeah,
I think Keanu Reeves had a band for a while.
I want to say Marky Mark had the rap album. Now that I think of
yes, I think that's how he started. Actually,
yeah. So just once you find your thing, you just stick to it, and let's not try to veer in any directions. Let's just stay focused, please.
But MJ, that fucking, I love it because, like I said, he was in the beginning of that movie, quote unquote.
Yeah.
He says no guns, all these peace and peace and love, and then he shoots somebody in that music video. Mm-hmm. Like he's sneaking up behind him and he pulls out this fucking deagle.
He was the first.
And shoots him.
He was the first positive YouTuber guy.
Why would you say that?
That
doesn't
like
make any
all the
sense,
YouTubers and Twitch streamers that are all like, oh yeah, let's just all have fun. Let's just all have fun doing this, and I love doing this. I love you guys, and let's just have fun. That's Michael Jackson started that. He was the first one.
Was he the one saying positivity and shit? Mm-hmm. Every YouTuber wants to promote
positivity. It's so weird too because I don't want to go off on a tangent here. I know we've been talking about MJ for a while.
Let's just go off on a tangent before we get into it. Steve.
I was just gonna say, allegations aside, right?
Okay.
Was this guy cool? Because you only really see his music and stuff, and it's not like nowadays where there was social media where you kind of get a feeling or you kind of get a sense of what people were like.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson to me is just literally what I saw in interviews and stuff, and I can't really tell is that real or is he just faking it, being this positive dude or because I know he had problems. He probably got molested or something. He was.
Well, he had a really abusive father.
Yeah, so I don't know anything, like that, but
he was just really cool. In my opinion, just really cool. And even when the allegations come out, I didn't know what to believe because I was even now, somebody tells me, "Hey, dude," that news I heard the other day where Liam Neeson's they caught him on this story where he was just I was just looking to mess up a black guy or something on the street.
Oh, he said that?
It was because it's the story about his friend was raped by a black man, and then he was I was in my 20s and I just walked the streets of New York trying to mess up any black guy I could see. And so it's
pretty racist.
Exactly. So I kind of put if somebody says, "Oh yeah, Michael Jackson was a child molester," I was like, it's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't. Everything's possible. So now it's now when we're how many years out, and they're you probably didn't do it. But at the time, everybody was making that joke like crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I want to believe he was just
a chill guy.
He's a chill, cool guy that unfortunately got taken advantage of.
Well, it's that's why people are the way they are now. All,
what do you mean?
All goody, and they don't want to...
Positivity and shit.
Yeah. Because everything shows. All of your fucking life is on the internet,
It's funny you say that. It's so many YouTubers get caught, dropping the N-word being racist or
Yeah.
being sexist or like all that stuff, and it's on social media from back in the day.
Yeah.
But like now with their new fame, they're like, I just want to promote positivity.
Or
And then they're like, but like 2 years ago you were saying this, and they're like, that's not me.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I can't trust it, because it's like people nowadays can be called out so easily. It's like if Michael Jackson went on an interview and was just like, he's just like, yeah, man, love and all this shit. It's like, I'm like, yeah, I don't really know anything about this guy. There's nothing. There's no records here. Like Hollywood fucking sweeps all that under the rug. So like, I really don't know.
I appreciated the Michael Jackson attempt.
Yeah, my voice can't go super high if you haven't noticed. But
because Steven's a real man.
Yeah. Wouldn't say that, but I got a deep voice. But yeah, like, especially musicians, dude. Like when that whole Me Too thing was happening, I'm like, how are musicians not just sweating right now? Like, like that fucking gif of from Key and Peele where the guy's just sweating. Just that.
You know what? I don't know, because all that shit that took place like backstage was not kosher at all.
Yeah, like Zeppelin got accused of like a bunch of weird shit with like
Zeppelin,
roadies and stuff, and like I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, like
I will say this. Here's the last thing I'll say about that whole thing. And I think Will Smith, of all people, put it the best. Is like, I was real stupid when I was young. I said a lot of stupid things, and I thought a lot of stupid things because I was a kid. But YouTube and social media didn't exist when I was a kid. So me being an idiot and saying stupid things doesn't exist anymore.
He said that in reference to his son.
Yeah, exactly.
Because his son
that's
is
a prime example.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, you imagine, like, Jaden Smith is essentially Will Smith now.
Right.
So like, I mean, obviously more money, but
well, yeah.
The craziness is there.
If it's like when people get tattoos when they're in their 20s and shit. I'm not gonna say this for everybody, but for the most part, you regret it.
I would say
a lot of them, especially ones that you get like on a whim or anything, and it's it's exactly like putting your shit on Twitter. Is like, now it's gonna be hard to erase that shit, and when people see it, you have to be like, yeah, I really love this girl, and I thought we were gonna be together forever, so I got her name on here. So I got some revisions for Twitter. Like Twitter should have, honestly, they should have this option just called angry tweets. Okay, do you want to make this an angry tweet as you're tweeting it? Like, instead of it'll have send, and then it'll have send angry tweet. Yeah.
You hit angry tweet. It'll disappear after 24 hours. That should be an option. Like, you send out an angry tweet, boom, I'm so fucking pissed off. No, 24 hours go by and it deletes.
No, you know what? There used to when people used to write letters.
Right. Okay.
There was this thing where people would say, write an angry letter, but don't send it until the next day.
Dude, that's exactly it. Yeah, I didn't make this up then, I guess. I guess I would just subconsciously...
No, but it was like... the only thing I would change about yours is it doesn't go up until 24 hours. So you have time to think about it before you send it. And it's like, a thing pops up and goes like, would you like to send this tweet from yesterday night when you were drinking?
Right.
And you found out your girlfriend is like stooping your best friend?
There you go.
No, let's not send that.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Or in some cases, you might be like, yeah, fuck this bitch, Like, but I don't know. So
yes!
Yeah.
Although I do know there's a service that erases tweets from like 3 years ago. Like, just erases your history from 3 years ago.
Dude, I would love to do that. I'm not gonna pay for it, but
no, I think it might be free, to be honest. And it's like a sign up and blah blah blah.
It's not even like bad shit. It's just like,
you just sound stupid.
It's just shitty jokes or something. Yeah, or like
those
like
can
really,
get you in big trouble. Apparently.
Yeah, like edgy joke. Yeah, I know, because what's his name? James Gunn. Like,
who's now directing and writing Suicide Squad.
Right. Yeah. Obviously on to much better things, right? Clearly.
Harley Quinn back at it.
Yeah. Sure. Good for him.
I'm sure he'll do I'm sure he'll bring it down to not like be as stupid. But like, the whole Suicide Squad thing in principle is not terrible, but the way they put it up in the movie, they're like, what if Superman decided to take over the White House? I was like, you're not gonna send some chick with a mallet to go take him down.
You're talking about Suicide Squad 1?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
They'll probably just.
I think you're being a dead horse here, Ernie. To be quite frank,
I think he'll just make it a smaller story. Like, hey, look, there's this place where I don't think anybody's gonna survive getting out of here. Let's just send the Suicide Squad, which is the premise of the fucking comic.
Okay.
And like, who cares if these guys die? You know, blah blah blah. But hey, they're crazy, so let's send them in. That's a better story.
Sure.
Just whatever. But now James Gunn can write kind of that story.
I'm sure they'll give him more freedom than Marvel did too.
We'll see.
Like if he wants to write edgier or raunchier jokes or something, I'm sure they'll let him.
Well, it's not so much about that. The WB is always Warner Brothers has always been like very careful with their properties.
Mm-hmm.
They're always very hands on. Like remember DC versus Mortal Kombat? They sucked the life out of that because they're like, fine, you can use the DC, but no fatalities. It's like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Pretty stupid.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll suck, but whatever. It's more movies to look forward to. Sure, I guess whatever. You want to hear something weird, Ernie?
Always.
Something really weird.
Always.
I saw this headline and I was like, "What the fuck does this even mean?" It was one of those headlines, and it said Xbox Live is coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, you told me about that.
And I said, "What does that mean?
What the flip?
That doesn't even make any sense to me. My brain hurts." Well, apparently they're going to make it so that all your Xbox Live friends and your clubs and your achievements can be like accessed and viewed and moved over to other things, including like a mobile app, which it already has a mobile app, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it sucks.
Okay, well, I guess they're going to make a better one or something.
Well, I think it's because like when you have like Fortnite and shit like that on your mobile, they want you to be able to communicate through things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess it's coming to Nintendo Switch. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to communicate through like let's say I'm playing Mario Kart 8 on Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
And you're on Xbox Live watching a movie or something. Will I be able to chat with you?
As in like plugged a microphone in and chat?
Because that would be cool. That would be cool, know. I would hope that's what they're advertising here.
If that's the case, like you can actually, if Nintendo has made a deal to be like, hey, can we use your chat feature because we can't seem to get it together?
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually not a terrible move because they have the infrastructure to do it, and they're just kind of piggybacking on it.
They should just buy Microsoft and just let it be done with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what do you mean, Nintendo buy Microsoft?
Just buy Microsoft,
Steve.
And
those companies are vastly different.
They're just gonna scoop up Banjo-Kazooie. They're just gonna scoop up Banjo, scoop up Conker, and then just dump the rest in a ditch somewhere. You know?
Oh my god! Can you imagine? Like, I want everybody to just close their eyes and imagine a Banjo-Kazooie game on the same scope as Mario Odyssey.
That'd be cool.
Just try to imagine that shit.
Yeah, that would be cool.
What I mean?
You know what's funny too is like, I feel like a lot of those like old 3D platformers that I loved, I feel like Mario Odyssey scratched like so many itches in that regard.
Oh my god!
That I really don't even care. Like the way like you move in that game and just like the maps and the scenery, like the variety basically in that game, all the different powers you have. I'm like, this just replaced like a million fucking games in my mind. I remember like when I was first stealing enemies or whatever or taking powers or whatever. I was like, this is like Brave Fencer Musashi. Like, I don't even need a new Brave Fencer now. I'm just playing this game. Or like, just the amount of movement options you have. I'm like, I don't even need Banjo-Kazooie anymore. Like, this game is like, I don't know. It was really good. Obviously, everyone knows that.
But really, if what you're saying is that the communication feature is being adapted to a Switch, and you also didn't you mention PC earlier when you told me?
Yeah, it's PC, but I was assuming that's like don't they have Windows Store or something?
Well, that's kind of a head scratcher to be honest, because I already have a Windows. There's some sort of proprietary software on your Windows where you can actually access your games. Yeah, like you can go into like for example, Gears of War. I think Judgment was the first one to feature. Is like, if you bought a hard copy, you can actually play it on or if you buy a digital copy on your Xbox, because it's a Microsoft Studios game, you can actually play it on your PC free. Yeah. So it just transfers between.
I remember them doing that. Yeah.
So I'm able to chat, but I'm not. There was no way to like plug in a mic and talk. Most people use like Discord or TeamSpeak or anything like that to play on their PC. But if you're telling me that now I can kind of just have a module on the side that I can just talk to Xbox Live people.
Yeah.
Like across the way, like you were mentioning, you're playing Mario Kart 8 and I'm playing like Red Dead Redemption and we're just chatting back and forth.
Yeah, that would be great.
That shit would be awesome.
It would be awesome. I'm hoping like more game companies like that.
Yeah.
Just start working together because it's like, it's really
It
really
only benefits them.
Yeah, exactly. That's my whole thought on it is like, how is this a bad thing in any way? Like, I don't really understand. Like, I mean, if you're thinking all businessy, I'm sure. Yeah, you're like, oh, potential sales. Like,
right.
I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know how. It's just, here's the thing. I don't know how much exclusivity is carrying over. Because at this point, people are like, what do you play, Xbox or PlayStation? It's like, I play Xbox. You miss out on one or two exclusives. I'm on PlayStation. You miss out on one or two exclusives. But for the most part, I think people are happy to share all these different systems.
Is Titanfall
Uh-huh.
Xbox exclusive?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have a hold on Respawn?
No, they just work very closely because they're the old, because I think Xbox may have helped them become Respawn after the whole fallout from Modern Warfare.
Okay. So this new game that the Respawn's making, this new game called Apex Legends,
Right.
which is a free-to-play battle royale. Surprising, I know, never heard of that.
What?
But is it exclusive to Xbox or no?
I don't know, but
Okay.
my friend who mentioned it, Eric, he was like, I played it, and we're pretty much only on Xbox Live because I have so many friends on there. So that's probably exclusive.
That would be cool because they don't really have anything. But
Oh, they got we never even talked about this when I started playing it, but they have fucking battle royale games on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fortnite's one of them, but like they have things like Warframe.
I'm completely sure. By the way, like, I know this is random, but like the Nintendo Switch got this. They got a free to play game the other day called Onigiri.
Oh.
Which is just like, it looks like feudal Japan, like make your character crap, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, it's like an MMO.
This is sounding dumb.
And I was like, yeah, let me try. It's free, right? Who gives a shit, right?
Right.
That game runs like complete garbage on the Nintendo. That shit was running at like 5. I'm not even joking. This is not an exaggeration. The frames were below 20. Damn. That shit was at least 15 frames per second. Every character at one point was like T-posing because it was all glitchy.
It was that bad?
Yeah.
Were you in an area that didn't have internet connection?
No, I was actually in a place where like... So when you first get thrown into the game after like the tutorial section,
right?
You get thrown into a section where all these new players are at, and the game is trying to load all these character models.
Right.
So it's gonna fucking dip in frame rate, obviously. I mean, to be fair, a lot of MMOs do this, but it was just so hilarious because I was like, how am I playing this on a console? Like, usually, like, consoles have frame rate issues, but they usually have to have like a... Like, I didn't think... How did this meet the standards? Like, it's so ridiculous.
It's like, okay, if we run it at this level of graphics, it's gonna seem like shit. So we gotta bring down the graphics.
Yeah.
So the frame rate stays up.
The graphics are not very good. It looks like 3DS. Like, it doesn't really look very good.
Somebody might have ported that shit.
I mean, I'm sure it's on PC or something, but I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, it's one of those games where you can just make as many characters as you want to, so everyone's got like some trolley ass name, so it doesn't look like it's being taken very seriously. But it was just interesting just to just check out what's free to play, because it's like, I totally get that when people say they play free to play games. I'm just like, makes sense. It's free. Like, why wouldn't you try it? Like,
they're just hoping that you get hooked and start spending V-Bucks or whatever.
Right, yeah, because it does have like, it's like, oh, buy
a new costume or a new dance.
Yeah, or something dumb like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say that right now. I wouldn't recommend Onigiri. I'm sorry.
I would. By the way, I would recommend Warframe if you're into that kind of stuff, because it's
I saw that one too. Yeah, because I was looking.
Warframe is a little like is basically Destiny, but you get to play for free.
Okay.
And it's got a bunch of rinse and repeat stuff, but it's fun to play, especially if you got like 5 or 4 people with you and shit. It's fun.
Okay.
But it's totally generic.
I would imagine. Yeah, it kind of looked like it.
Yeah.
Do you watch anything, Ernie? You been watching anything this week?
Well, no, I finished Punisher season 2.
I know that one, but you were talking about a documentary earlier that you were watching.
Oh, right. So the big news I think of the last 3 weeks has
yeah,
been like
I'm
the
sure
Fyre
a lot
Festival.
of people. I'm sure a lot of people have watched this. To be fair,
Now I don't know why so many people are like being like they were like, oh, watch the Netflix one or oh, watch the Hulu one. I was like, I don't want to be like that fucking taco meme with that girl going, why not both? But like, why not watch both? You get more information of the whole thing. One is on Netflix that is has a more of a marketing spin to it because it's by the people who marketed the whole thing called Fuck Jerry. That's the media company. And then the other ones are done for more of a business side of it, and like it takes a look at more of the people who are involved with it, not so much just the marketing of it or whatever.
Okay, well, I've seen none, and Ernie has seen both.
Yeah.
So do me a favor and just take all the best bits from each one and just combine them into like this tiny little like shortened version that I can digest right now.
Well, just the timeline really quick, because this is it's really easy to do the timeline because it's just a guy named Billy. He's the star of the whole thing. He's this like up and coming like tech genius is what they bill him to be.
Okay.
He had this little credit card.
Okay.
From his company called Magnesis, which I think he misspelled. And it was like, if you use this card, it's like any other fucking credit card, but I'll give you perks. Like, you'll get into, like, these exclusive tickets. There's this house in New York that you can use. It's a townhouse, and only Magnesis people can use it, blah, blah, blah. He gets kind of big with that, because it's like, oh, man, look, a millennial's credit card. And then, and this is going to sound so
millennial's
stupid.
credit card.
Exactly. But then Ja Rule shows up.
Okay.
So him and Ja Rule, they go to this fucking island.
Wait, Ja Rule's that involved in it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So he meets Ja Rule. The timeline's a little murky as to when he meets. He meets Ja Rule when he's doing these exclusive things for this card. Like, hey, look, we got this DJ. If you have this card, you can get into this. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
Anyway, he meets Ja Rule somehow through that, and then they start. He starts making this new app called Fyre.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you know how most people know how Tinder works, right? You see somebody you like, you swipe, and then if they like you they swipe and they match. This is essentially Tinder, but for like if you wanted to go see Blink-182 and you had shit tons of money. I'm using a really dated person. Let's try again. If you want to go see Marshmello, who's a really big DJ, you swipe on him and you tell him, I will pay you $50,000 to come play at my bar mitzvah. And if they want you, they can swipe back on you on that offer. That's the premise of Fyre.
Okay.
Right? So him and Ja Rule are just like, man, that's a great idea, blah, blah, blah. So he has this little company working on this app. And then he's like, you know what we should do? He's like, come with me to my private island and shit. So they go to this island that is like this...
Who owns the island?
I forget who owns the island because it gets a little murky about who owns what and who actually did what. Because it's all like the whole thing's fraudulent or whatever. So I'm not sure who owns everything.
Oh, okay. So it's like non-disclosure crap that they can't say.
Well,
legally.
the whole time it's like he claims these things and then they're like he didn't own any of that shit.
Oh, okay.
He claims he made $88 million. Blah blah blah. He didn't make anything like that. Kind of thing.
Which is part of the whole controversy, right? Okay.
So there's this island that they go to, completely deserted, but apparently it was owned by Pablo Escobar.
Okay.
And, like, it's in the Bahamas. That's where the whole thing takes place. And they're like, we should do a festival that highlights your fucking app. And they're like, great, let's do it. And so they get this marketing team, Fuck Jerry, and they shoot a bunch of, like, some of the 10 best supermodels. They make this fucking video. They get Kylie Jenner to tweet out about it. And then everybody's like, this Fyre Festival is going to be so fucking awesome.
I heard they got a lot of Instagram... influencer people to like
through this Fuck Jerry and through the fact that like, you know, if Kylie Jenner, I think it was, or I forget which Kardashian did the whole thing, but whichever one of them tweeted it out, basically thought, oh, that means Kanye West is coming, or blah blah blah. All these like fucking bands are gonna be there and blah blah blah, which I don't know if any of them was confirmed at any given point, but essentially. They try to make a music festival happen in 4 months. And, like, Coachella takes 18 months to plan out. And Coachella is in like, these places... The word you're going to hear a lot through the whole thing is called infrastructure. And it's like, do you have electricity? No. Do you have toilets? No. Do you have water so people don't die? No, because it's a fucking island.
Right, yeah.
So essentially they're like, you're fucking crazy. You can't do this in 4 months. Even if you had all the money in the world, you can't make that.
Right.
But essentially, from there, it just goes bananas.
Okay.
And that's where the whole thing leads up to, because the whole rest of the documentary from both sides are like, don't do this because none of this is going to work. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. All these people behind him telling you, don't do this. But he is just fucking chugging, making that train go right off the cliff.
Okay.
And it's the fucking best, because all these people are like, we believed in him. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden Billy got $5 million more from another investor. Mm-hmm. And now he got he's got $2 million more, blah, blah, blah. And the whole thing is brilliant because this guy cons so many people just by smiling at him and being like, it's gonna happen, we're positive, and blah, blah, blah. And one of the documentaries after the aftermath, some guy's like, yeah, Billy left me with like $150,000 on my credit card. On my Amex credit card.
Oh, like in debt?
Yeah, in debt. God. That guy, like, and I'm not saying like the company. Right. I'm talking about that individual person. He took $150,000 off of his credit card. And he's like, yeah, so I'm responsible for that now. That's awesome. And it's like, and there's like 5 people in the Netflix documentary. He's like, yeah, I've got all this debt from Billy. Mm-hmm. And in the Hulu one, a lot of it is like the people, you know, you watch the documentary, but like the people on this other island, because they didn't have it at that island, they got kicked off that island, and they're like, let's go to this other island, and they switched it like 3 times as to what island it was gonna be. There's like, we need fucking workers to build some tents and put some fucking wires down and shit.
Yeah.
And none of them got paid. And he worked them for like a month straight, 24 hours, just building shit, trying to get things done. And of course, none of it was done.
So did the festival actually happen?
In as much as people flew out there, but no, because all the bands pulled out at the last minute.
Right, as they should have.
Yeah, because some of them were like, there was a guy in the documentary. He creates this when he sees the whole thing driving off a cliff. He started posting under this Twitter account called Fyre Fraud, and he was like, dude, this is not what he promised you. He promised you like yachts, like you would stay on a yacht around the island. There was no yachts. He's like, you're gonna stay in a villa that's by the concert. There were no villas built. You're gonna stay in this dope ass tent with like luxury beds. They're inflatable mattresses in a fucking tent. Like, and he's telling people this, and they don't want to believe it. And this guy's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And people just didn't want to hear it.
Right.
And so, like, the day before, like, a couple weeks before, like, it counts down in every single one. It's badass. It counts down every single time. It's like a week out, 2 weeks out. And people are freaking out. But, like, a month out, because this guy's, like, a fucking festival, like, he knows about this stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, he reaches out to the agents of these people that were supposed to be there. He's like, have you guys been paid? And he's like, as a matter of fact, we haven't been paid yet. And then there's all this, like, we're not gonna go if they don't pay us up front, because we get paid. Like, it was basically Kanye West, Major Lazer, and like Blink-182 were like the big guys. A day before Blink-182 goes like, we're not gonna go. So that's to all our fans, and people still got on a fucking plane to go to this thing. And it's great because in the documentary there's all these people like, oh, like the influencers got their like iPhones going, oh, we're gonna go to Fyre Festival, oh yeah. And like the first sign of trouble was they were promised like private jets to go to this island. These people that bought like $4,000 tickets, they were promised private jets, and they just got put into a fucking Delta Airlines jets. And when they got there, they got put on like yellow school buses, and they got
Jesus Christ. Wow.
And it's like, why would you still get on the plane? Like the big names had pulled out by then, and it's like, and why are you still getting on the plane? Like, it was a bad sign from the beginning. Most people spent, like, most of the influencers spent like $10,000 to go to this thing, and they were all fucked.
Jesus
and
Christ.
It turns into like, if you've ever seen the movie Apocalypse Now, or like
that's what I was hearing.
Hunger Games and shit.
Like right after it happened, people were saying like it's fucking Lord of the Flies for millennials now. Like
it's great because when you see the footage, all these people are fucking blogging the whole thing, and it's like these. I don't know the details of any of these influencers, but it's like all these fucking privileged kids are like, people are stealing mattresses and like taking them to different places because there's like no fucking lights. and it's just dark,
Wow.
and people are fucking like scrambling to find a place to sleep.
How do we make fire?
Where's my water? And it's just like there's no fucking water anywhere, and there's like, and then people ran back to the airport. Oh, it's so brilliant. They run back to the airport, like, get us out of here. And then the guy's like, yeah, we can't take off because there's one extra passenger here, so we're all gonna pile out and we're gonna walk back in. Like 4 hours later, they're all back on the plane. Everybody's accounted for, and it's like, yeah, we can't take off because we've been on the job for like 16 hours and they won't let us work anymore. So you guys are gonna have to wait until 6 in the morning, and it's like 2 at night.
See, you know what would have been badass if Ja Rule just kicked down the door and it was just like, I'm about to fly this bitch right now, you know?
Ja Rule.
Yeah, Soul Plane 3, dude, right there.
It's the best documentary you've seen of a train wreck, and it's badass because one of them has the guy trying to defend himself, and he's the blinkiest, twitchiest motherfucker you've ever seen when he gets asked all these questions.
Well, I'm sure.
In one of them, Ja Rule talks to them after the aftermath. By the way, he got there and immediately took off, and he's like, but like they talk to him, he's like, yeah, you know, like they're talking to Ja Rule, he's like, yeah, man, we basically just committed fraud. He's like, no, it's not fraud. It's not fraud. What is false advertising. And I was like, nobody tell him that's fraud because he's just gonna fucking be really pissed.
That's funny. See, that's
go
great.
see both. I don't know what people are telling you, but go see both. It's the fucking funniest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it, but it does sound pretty funny, and it's just like I couldn't imagine like I already know what it feels like to get like scammed at like $20.
Yeah,
like when you buy a shitty product.
Yeah,
can't even imagine what these like influencer people are going through, getting scammed out of like $10,000 or more. Or like being in debt $150,000. That's fucking ridiculous, dude. That must be like a pit in your stomach that's just never gonna go away. That's ridiculous.
Nobody feels sorry for any of the people who went.
Yeah,
that's the magic of this whole thing.
That's what like because I know the Meg 64 guys watched it too, and they were like saying the same thing. Like all these fuckers deserved it, and it was just so funny. And I was like, wow, all right. I mean, whatever. I personally don't like. I don't know. It just doesn't seem interesting to me, I guess. But, you know, maybe I'll check it out. Who knows?
Here's the thing. If you go in as an experiment of, like, what can marketing do for a festival?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Because the Netflix side of it is a little biased to the Fuck Jerry social media, like, marketing campaign. And it shows you how they essentially sold this extravagant music festival to people. So much so that some people spent up to $100,000 and weren't delivered anything. And, you know, it's insane to see how much good, like, it's funny, the Netflix one is like, look at all these beautiful shots and shit, right? Yeah. All of it was supposed to be filmed to make Billy and all these things look cool. But it's a funny thing to see all these beautiful people being shot and then all this happening, but it's all like, and he was a piece of shit and he blah blah blah, and like, so instead of the footage being used to highlight this beautiful festival, it's all under the guise of, and then he was a piece of shit and blah blah blah. So it's funny that this video is being used for the exact opposite thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of it all, right? Is that like they were just, their perception of it was just not correct. Like,
well, they essentially they were snake oil salesmen. They sold you this festival that was not happening, and they knew it from the get-go. Okay, a lot of people. But at the end of both documentaries, it's badass because everybody's pointing fingers as to who did what. And
so where's this Billy guy, the guy that's responsible for it?
It's badass. In both of them, here's the. I didn't want to ruin it, but if you're not gonna watch, it's fine. He gets out on bail, right? Okay, because he's indicted. It's a white crime. It's a white collar crime, I should say. So it's like he's not dangerous to anybody, but like, so he's out on bail. But like, while he's out on bail, he tries to run another scam.
Oh wow. Well, he's got. I assume he's in debt, right? So
he's in so much debt. But like, here's the scam, basically, right? I say, hey, Steven, I got tickets to E3. Okay. If you want them, $150 a ticket.
I want those.
And you're like, of course you want them.
Yeah, I want those.
He wants them. So essentially, he gets the money now, and uses it to spend on whatever. And then the day before, he uses a credit card and goes on StubHub and buys tickets for those people that cost probably like $300 to $400.
Right.
He's like, here are your tickets. By the way, I have tickets to Comic-Con as well. Do you want them? They're $400. And you're like, I want those too. Mm-hmm. So he uses the sale of this ticket that he doesn't have to pay for the tickets he just gave you.
Okay, I see.
So it's a continuous like scam of making as long as you keep buying shit from me, I can keep running this scam.
Yeah. Okay.
He keeps trying to do that, and the reason people figured it out was because he's like, I have tickets to the Victoria's Secret like fashion show where they're all in their like lingerie and shit.
Right.
And people were like, you can't buy tickets to shit like that. Oh. You just can't. Because apparently it's like people get invited to that, and every single invitee is approved by this one person.
Oh, shit. Wow.
So it's like, there's no way he has these tickets because you can't buy them. And then they figure out that all the people who are getting this offer are from the same mailing list as the Fyre Festival.
Oh. Wow.
And then they figure out that the guy, Frank, who's selling these things is essentially just a figurehead. And then behind him is Billy being like, here's what you're going to say.
Frank is he's a cardboard.
Exactly.
He's a cardboard
he's
cutout.
Tom from MySpace.
Yeah. You kick over Frank, and then Billy's behind a computer.
He's like, oh!
All
it's
stinky.
so badass. He ran a scam while on bail for what the scam that he played.
That's pretty ridiculous. It's also like, that's pretty true. It's like whenever I see gifts of like models or something walking down the runway with ridiculous shit on.
Yeah.
Those rooms are never packed. It looks like an intimate ass like
yeah.
party or something.
Yeah,
where,
it's like they want certain people to be there.
Yeah.
And they're all like approved by, you know.
Yeah, you don't see normal people there.
No.
You only see like elitist fashion people there.
Because as much as we want to think that it's a show.
Yeah.
Like, try and think of it as something like there's the reason that guy's there is because he is the distributor of like this big fashion like conglomerate, and he needs to be here to see what he wants to buy next year.
Right.
That's why they're there.
Yeah.
You know, some of these people are opinionate, like they're the ones that make opinions of things, and they're like, who's the big next whatever. And then the people that you don't see that are like in the back, they're like, where am I gonna spend my money this year? That's what they're for.
That's what E3 should be. Honestly, that's
what it started as. Is like, here's the shit that we're gonna send this year. What are you gonna buy? And it was for people who are like, I'm GameStop. Where am I gonna do my midnight releases?
Right. Yeah,
and so that's how you plan out your year. That's what that is. So that's why people are like, why are you selling tickets to fucking this? Like,
because E3 now is like fucking ridiculous. Like, not that it's not a pleasure to go. I mean, it's obviously awesome. You get free crap that you probably won't use, but it's cool to post pictures
or do a video from it.
But yeah, so that sounds pretty interesting. I don't know, maybe I will check it out. But you finished The Punisher. Now you can finally discuss that with me in the last 15 minutes of our podcast. But I'm gonna say this right now: if you haven't watched The Punisher, we're gonna spoil the whole thing.
Yeah.
So please do yourself a favor and go watch all 26 episodes. Just pause the podcast, come back 26 hours later, and then turn the podcast back on. What did you think of The Punisher season 2, Ernie?
I thought it was really, really experimental as far as Punisher goes.
Okay.
I was
just gonna say, it didn't really hit me as hard as season 1.
No.
But I do feel like season 1, they had big shoes to fill, basically.
Right.
Because the end of season 1, with the merry-go-round
carousel,
it was
Russo.
it was just like, dude, how are they gonna top this? Like,
right.
If it ended right there, I would have been happy, honestly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so season 2's ending was a little bit lukewarm, I would say, because it seemed like. Okay, were you gonna say something before I start going off on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was interesting and very experimental because season 1 had a theme of revenge.
Okay.
And also, what is it called when like a redemption? Not to.
I think this one also did too, to a certain extent.
But to this one, it was more about family.
And
I don't know what, like, owning up to things. I don't know what the word would be for that, but like that seemed to be the theme because if you tried to do season 1 again,
Yeah.
it was going to be very shallow. Because it's like, okay, he got revenge for his family. Like, that seemed to bookend season 1. It was like
Right.
his whatever. So you can't just keep going with that montage. You got to see what Frank is like after the fact, you know?
Yeah.
And the whole thing starts and ends with an attempt to have some semblance of a family.
Yeah.
Right?
Because like we were saying last time, like right at the beginning, he has like a relationship with this Beth lady, or I should say, he has like a one night stand, and then he's like, "Oh, maybe I'll take your kids out for pancakes." And...
Yeah, because there's
so
a
he's
connection.
trying, like
because there's as much as he wants, like he keeps this idea of his wife and his kid.
Yeah,
that was a Frank that existed in that time, right? But now that he is, broken, that he's in these shambles of his life, the Beth character there, I know she's only in one episode, but like, she is the same type of broken that he is. And I feel like that's why they were like, maybe he can't be the family man he used to be in that perfect, quote unquote, perfect scenario.
Yeah.
His wife, his kid, blah, blah, blah. We're on this merry-go-round, blah, blah, blah. But this is like fractured pieces of a family that he could put together because they fit now because they're both kind of broken.
Yeah.
And that was the attempt.
That's what I like about it. Or I should say, that's what I like about that first episode, is that you kind of see this Frank that's actually different.
Right.
Like season 1 did have some effect on his life. It wasn't just
Right.
And like I was saying before as well too, that Billy was always telling him, like Billy Russo, aka Jigsaw, was always telling him, like, we don't get to have that kind of stuff. We're military men. War is our life, and we just fight and all this shit. And he's trying to like deny that, which is good because he deserves to have a family. He deserves to have whatever he wants. Everyone deserves happiness. But I actually thought Pilgrim was like the highlight for me in this season.
Right.
The second villain.
Right. So
I wish they would have used him more though, because I don't really like how he kind of just like comes in at the end.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I didn't even realize it either, but it's like he doesn't even meet Frank until like the last 3 episodes. They like never cross paths, right?
They meet in the 3rd episode.
In the shootout at the police station, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
where they meet.
Okay,
but they don't actually have words.
Right. Yeah.
The Pilgrim character for me was a reflection of Frank in a way that if that's another life that Frank could have lived.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, look, these people are basically paying for me to live this normal life with my family. Mm-hmm. But through what he does, he has like the self-punishment thing that he does, like where he whips himself.
Yeah.
And is like, it's all worth it in the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's another way that Punisher kind of is reflected. He's like, it's all this killing is worth it in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, any killing he does is immoral, obviously, which is why, Frank's character is so complicated. But in the end, he makes the world a safer place. So is it all worth it? And that's kind of what Pilgrim reflects, is a person that is the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
But it's corrupted because of the people that are using him for those means,
Yeah.
So I enjoyed Pilgrim's arc, if you want to call it that, but it didn't have much of a thing because like his end goal was always, I want to be with my family.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The arc that is the strongest is definitely Frank's, because Frank struggles because Billy Russo is essentially the other side of the mirror for him personally, because they both went through similar tragedies. And it's always made like there's always a comparison made between Frank and Billy Russo. They're like, why is he any different? He's killing, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
like,
yeah.
This is blah,
They're
blah.
two sides of the same coin.
Right.
I understand that. I just, honestly, like, towards the end of the series, I was like, I feel like Billy is Madani's thing at this point.
Yes.
Like he... I honestly wasn't a huge fan of Jigsaw's look.
No,
like,
I wasn't either.
I saw like the trailer for Punisher Warzone on Netflix, and I was like, this Jigsaw looks badass.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't make him look like this. They couldn't like I don't know, like beef him up a little bit or make him look a little bit different. But Jigsaw was kind of like this background story, and then eventually like Madani
Yeah.
ended up having more of a grudge with him than Frank did at all.
Well, obviously Madani has much more of a grudge with Billy Russo.
I don't know about much more of a grudge.
Well, he was romantically involved with her in the first one.
Yeah.
That's why when she goes back to the apartment, it flashes those scenes where they were like having sex in her apartment.
Yeah, but like Billy killed his family, dude. Like he was responsible.
I completely understand, but the thing is,
and Madani and Billy just banged a couple times.
They just were banging out.
Yeah.
No, it's more of a thing like Frank had made his peace with Billy.
Yeah.
Because he fucked up his face. Which, by the way, I'll comment on that. Why is it that Billy got like a couple of scars? The way that he smashed his face into the thing, I was like, that guy's gonna have like Wolverine scars across his face. Kind of thing.
I don't know either, and that was kind of my complaint. Was like, maybe it was like, we're gonna have to do this fucking makeup every single time that he's on screen. Like,
yeah.
Like so I don't know, and maybe it's easier for a movie because they're just like, yeah, it's just a couple of days of shooting and we're good.
Well, maybe they shouldn't have played it up so much. God damn it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I personally I still liked him as a character because like the way he reacted to certain things was still interesting to see.
Sure.
And especially when he first saw Frank and he like froze up, it was cool.
Right.
Definitely, and him trying to like kind of getting back his memory and stuff. Right. The way he affected his psychiatrist lady.
Yeah.
Was really interesting because it's like, I mean, I guess it's kind of played out, but that does happen a lot in not just in comic book stories, but you hear about that in real life. Like psychiatrists fall in love with their patients, I
actually hear about it more from like inmates who turn prison guards.
Yeah, or
like I hear that all the time.
Harley Quinn is
the quintessential.
Yeah.
Like just to close out what I said about the face thing is like they made it a point in the like first 2 episodes that he's like this and he takes off his mask and she goes like ugh, and I was like really, I could see that and be like oh dude that looks bad, but I wouldn't turn away and be like ugh. I'd be like oh shit, because at that point everything was healed up.
Yeah, and there's a scene where he sits at a bar and the guy's just like. He's like, who did that to your face? And I was like, how did you even notice? Like,
yeah, because most of it, like, he had some, like, all the scars seem to be, like, away from his, the front part of his
conveniently, face. Like, away from the actor's face somehow.
I want to comment on this whole fucking psychiatrist thing. I thought that was garbage. So much garbage.
It wasn't, the woman that played the psychiatrist was beautiful. I would say that much. But as far as, her backstory was pretty cool. It just got introduced way too late because like when she actually tells her backstory, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Too bad it's fucking episode 12 and I don't give a shit about this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she would have like used that story to like kind of to gain sympathy from like Billy or something, I feel like that would have been a little better. But I don't know. Like, and I think she does do that, but she does it way too late in the story for me, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know.
But the reason I hate it is because she's a medical professional who has had years of this. She's worked with it, like they say it in the thing. You've been working years with criminals like this, blah blah blah. It's not like her first case. You know what I mean? That's supposedly what, like in the Harley Quinn Joker thing, she was new. To Arkham, and she was like, oh, blah, blah. And they're like, you've never dealt with something like this before, and she's like, I'll be fine, blah blah blah. And obviously she wasn't fine, but like in this one, it's kind of she has tons of patients who she works with who are also ex-military who are exactly like Billy.
Well, in her defense, don't they say, doesn't Billy say like, oh, how many of them are there? And she's like, yeah, there were others or something, and then she's just like, but they didn't. Something like they didn't love me or something. Wasn't that? Didn't she say something like that?
I don't think that was mentioned.
She said
the person that she's talking about is like KM, which is her father.
Oh, okay.
That's what supposedly was so like. Now I gotta have you because you look exactly like my father. I was like, that's just horseshit in my opinion. And
by the way, she didn't die. The fuck?
I love that. I love that she didn't die.
I was like,
now she has to live with it.
Well, yeah, but like, okay. In that episode in particular. Billy comes into the room, and he sees that, or Billy comes in onto the street, I should say, in front of that psychiatrist's apartment. She's on the floor. He's like, right. Oh my god. He looks up. Madani's sitting there in the window. He's like, fuck you. He goes up there, and he chokes her out until she passes out.
Right.
And she lives. Like, I was like, what?
Well, what they're trying to sell to you is that she shot him like 3 times.
Yeah.
Which was the count.
Which I'm going to bring that up later, too.
Right. She shot him 3 times, so as soon as he saw the life come out of her, he let go. Mm-hmm. So it's like, did she pass out, or was she actually... Or like whatever. Yeah, because she had just fought somebody, so maybe she was exhausted.
Okay, so so she wakes up, right? She's alive. And then I'm looking at the psychiatrist on the street, and I'm like, she's so dead. She took a nasty blow to the skull. Ooh, she's not alive. And then she's in a hospital bed in like the next episode. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
2nd floor.
Yeah,
Second floor.
okay.
She didn't fall from the 5th story. Like, she looked pretty fucked up. Because her arms were in those things where, like, they need to stay that way so that all your bones...
Yeah, like Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I was still, like not even brain damage, because when they said like, oh, she's gonna wish that she had died.
Yeah. I
was like, oh, so she has like brain damage or something crazy.
I thought for sure she would be paraplegic.
Yeah,
or something. Can't move, can't do nothing.
Perfectly fine as far as I was like, okay, whatever.
She could talk. That's about it. I agree with you because like she should have probably been unconscious. Mm-hmm. But literally, Madani shows up in the same clothes that she beat the shit out of her with. By the way, why did Madani have such a hard time fighting her off? He's a trained Homeland Security agent. Uh-huh. And she is having trouble fighting off a fucking psychiatrist with a knife.
She was throwing like the paintings at her and stuff.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. She even took on Billy Russo.
Drunk.
Okay.
She was drunk, wasn't she?
Okay.
Wasn't she?
Well, maybe. I don't know. She came over the last minute. I don't know if they did start drinking. There was a lot of scenes with them drinking.
Yeah.
But that part, like, I hated that. The one thing I did like, Billy Russo's death. I did like that. A lot of people were like, but this big stink that Billy Russo was making, this big thing where he was gonna like fucking break Frank and all this shit, and he was like, I'm gonna get away and I'm gonna have this girl with me and blah blah blah, and he's like, and the way he dies is not this big like exit that he wanted to do, like this big Valhalla, all my soldiers coming out with me, blah blah blah. He didn't even get that. Like Frank killed half of them.
Yeah, and I think that was the point, because if you would ask me like how are they gonna top season 1, I guess the answer is they don't. They don't even attempt it. They're just kind of like, and it makes sense because at that point Frank was like, I'm just gonna kill him, dude. Like he's fucked with me enough. Bullet in like this guy needs to die. And I'm not sure if this was intentional. I want to say it was though. Madani put 3 bullets in him. Yeah. And Frank put 2.
Right.
So I was almost like, that's how you know.
Did the math.
Yeah. That's how you know it was more Madani's fight, because she got the majority of like
bullets in there.
Bullets in them, and maybe that doesn't mean anything, but like to me in my head, I'm like, okay, it was definitely like a victory for Madani. They were trying to make it more her battle.
Right. And then, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then the whole thing with like Pilgrim at the end, which I really liked. I grew to like Pilgrim throughout the series, and it was kind of cool that he got to be with his kids at the end.
Yeah.
Which is something that like Frank obviously was like, he had sympathy for him because of his kids and all that stuff. But that scene at the end in the mansion, I was like, if you thought Frank had softened up, think again. Because he just shot this old bitch in the back of the head in cold blood.
Not even in cold blood.
Oh yeah,
that was a justified kill.
Yeah, she was reaching for the knife. She was gonna stab Amy. Amy, I think that's her name. I forgot. But shoots her in the back of the head, and there's blood is just like slowly coming towards her husband, and he's just like, "Here's a gun, 1 bullet." He's like, "Try to shoot me."
Are you gonna kill yourself, or are you gonna live with the fact that like blah blah blah? And he's like, "Nah, I just kill myself."
Yeah, and
I love that ending in so many ways because it illustrates that the girl is not the same. She understands what it is now.
Yeah.
But I also love that like he only put a bullet in one of them because he like it's almost like Frank knew which one of the 2 of them was most far gone.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The other one was just his like fucking like he was all about what the greater good and shit, and she was just not about that. She was just like ends to a means.
Yeah, because he was probably like, honestly, he was probably like, if I shoot this dude, this woman might just find another guy and do the same shit, or like He it was calculated basically. He knew what he was doing, which was really great. And then obviously you have this. We didn't mention it, but you have that scene where he's like going to confront Billy, and there's like he's in the dark and like people are cutting him up or whatever. That whole scene was like it was good. I just think it could have been done a little better. I don't know.
Are you talking about when Frank and Curtis go to the compound?
Yeah.
That scene was cool, but I was like, how are they going to top like some of the badass scenes of Frank escaping things?
Yeah.
And what they did is they didn't. They left Frank kind of like, this is just Frank's standard, right? This is what he does. But then what they did is they transferred that scene that they were going to do to Pilgrim, because that fight in the bar.
Oh, that scene was so good.
That was so good.
That
and
made me
so brutal. And they did such a brilliant job of mirroring it against him in his hotel room, like repairing himself.
Yeah, his recovery scene was like that was so awesome, honestly. Just like seeing him like he takes out his tooth and then you see him getting his teeth like
punched because the guy had brass knuckles.
Yeah.
And all these different parts where he's readjusting his jaw because like somebody punched him like underneath and like dislocated it, and him just kind of trying to heal all these different spots. But how fucking brutal was that whole scene? That I was like, they could have done it one of two ways. They could have done one long shot,
right,
like Daredevil, or they could have just been like as brutal as possible, like Punisher. But they did kind of a combination of the two, where they had the bloodiness of like Frank repairing himself and shit in like the earlier ones, and how cold-blooded he is and how much he doesn't care how much he gets hurt. He's gonna finish this job. I loved it.
It was really great. I think my favorite part was like at the end he like comes back and he grabs the bottle, and I was like, oh, that's where he got the bottle. Like, because he's drinking the whole time. He's like patching himself up, and I'm like, there's also like a shootout of between Frank and Pilgrim in the hotel room, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of cool scenes. I just wanted to wrap this up and talk about Amy, who I ended up really liking towards the end of the series.
Yeah.
Not as much as Micro.
No.
Because as you know, I love Micro, and he has a special place in my heart.
Right.
But Amy, it was cool to see her use that little technique that he taught her. Mm-hmm. You know, she had kind of an arc as well.
Definitely.
She had kind of like a mini arc. And as soon as like she shot that guy and killed him, you know, she did what she was supposed to do. And Frank is like holding her there, and he's just like, it's all right. It's all right. Like it was just,
you're good.
Yeah, it was just, it's so out of character to see Frank be like compassionate in any way, but it's to me it's like really, it's really meaningful too, especially because somebody like Amy had been with them throughout the whole season, so it's like it's warranted. It's not like this is just like some like what's happening all of a sudden Frank is compassionate. It's like no, it's completely, it makes sense completely. And at the end where like he's leaving her on that bus and everything, and he's like gonna cry and stuff, I was like, oh man,
it's Frank.
Yeah, I was like, this is so sweet. This is like actually happening.
That's why I really did like the season. I felt like Frank as a character grew because he's regrowing some of his own humanity.
Yeah, definitely.
Season 1, it starts with him just killing everybody, and then he goes through this whole thing with Micro. But like in this one, he found a little bit of his humanity, because the theme of Punisher is always like, I can't save my family, but I can save people that I can save people who are within my reach. And that's why he initially helps her in the bar.
Yeah, and also like with Micro too, it's like the same thing where he's like, hey man, I helped out your family, and he's like, yeah, come visit anytime. And he's like, can't do that. Like,
yeah, I'm never gonna come visit your family.
But it's cool that like he's become this kind of this hero that's like he'll help somebody out of like this hole that they've dug themselves into, but then it's like you can't come back. You know, like that's it. Like your guys' adventure is over once you know.
Because if I come back into your life, I bring all this shit with me.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was how do I say? It's like a bittersweet ending. Like she got her clean slate, and he gets to go and kill off more bad guys.
Even Madonna got a clean slate.
Yeah, and she,
you know,
so at the end, she's like in some Iraqi country or something, doing like some.
Yeah,
crazy...
she's essentially doing what Billy Russo. It feels like Billy Russo was doing like a private army mercenary kind of deal, and I feel like that's what she was doing. It didn't seem like she was part of a government agency. It felt like she was just doing hey, Frank, I got a job for you. Like, she could hire Frank to do something.
He's dead, though, right?
Who?
Jigsaw?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
He's dead.
Because they were playing Guns N' Roses, and the song was saying, I ain't never gonna die.
And
so
he's like, well, that's because what's-her-name said he was never going to die. I was like, oh, wait, he's dead.
All right.
They're
not gonna pull some shit where like the hand grabs him and like drags him off somewhere and.
No, it's not Portal 2.
What?
Here's the last comments I'll make, because I love the way Billy Russo died, because he tries to call everybody. He tries to like survive still by pulling on all these strings. Like he calls Curtis. He calls a surgeon to kind of like help him. Blah, blah. At the end of his rope, he ends up in the same place that was originally trying to help him, which is Curtis's
his circle of
vets, vets, right? Which is where it all kind of started, even from season 1. And it was like he ends up there, and Frank shows up, and Billy's like, "Of course, who's you, Frankie?" Like he's trying to get some sympathy out of him, and Frank's just like, "Blah blah blah."
Yeah,
done.
Actually,
that's
blah
done.
blah.
He just shoots him twice because Frank is fucking done.
Yeah, which was it was cool. It was nice to end it like that. I wanted to mention too that scene at the end, which kind of confused me, where he's like, no, I got a job, or whatever, to Madonna. She's just like, hey Frank, I got a big job for you. And he's like, I don't need a job, I got a job or something. Right. And these two gangs show up to like this warehouse, and they're like, I thought you called this meeting. No, I thought you called this meeting. And then he shows up and he's just
you
like,
want to play?
Yeah, he says something like, I'm the war or something, or I forget what he said.
He says, you can play with me. And he starts
Does he really?
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah, it is. But then he like annihilates everybody with like 2 machine guns.
But he's finally in his trench coat,
right.
And he has like his Punisher vest on.
Right.
I was like, what? Okay, like I guess I guess what you're supposed to get from that is he's just the Punisher now. He's just
protecting New York.
He's finally became like what he was supposed to become or whatever. Right. But at first glance too, I was like, man, those gang members look kind of young. Like he's just shooting up kids now, or like what's going on?
Well, Steve, I think it's like he's said it before. He's like, the minute somebody picks up a gun and starts killing people for money or for drugs and shit, you're on his shit list. Because you're already too far gone at that point.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it makes sense, yeah. I mean, Curtis is obviously on the other spectrum of that, but...
Curtis, I loved Curtis's part in the whole thing, because Curtis didn't really change.
I did too. Curtis is he's a very charming dude. He plays that character really well, like this kind of like, this person that understands the pain that everyone's going through in his group, and he actually, he's just I mean, I hate to keep using like sympathetic and compassionate, but it's true. It's like that's how he is, you know. And it's cool to have him contradict Frank like that in like every way. Like the whole time he's helping him, he's just like, don't do it like this. Like there's another way to do this, Frank, and he's just,
which is amazing, really. Especially with working with Frank, you would think that you got to do it his way, or there's no way you're gonna like fucking survive or whatever.
Right.
But I just love that he is the constant conscience of Frank.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, you know, who's like, I'm gonna use this guy as a token to get her back, and we're gonna exchange blah blah blah. And Curtis is like, this isn't right. This guy didn't do anything, and he's like, I just want to be clean, and so he lets the guy go. And you don't even see a resolve to that.
Which guy?
The two people that get killed at the end, the ones who were controlling.
Oh
Pilgrim,
yeah, I remember that.
His son is let go because Curtis just turns him over to the other. I forget what the other cop's name is. He turns him over and says, I just want to walk away from this. And the guy's like, you want me to arrest this guy? He's like, no, he's the reason I'm alive. Of course I don't want you to arrest him. He's like, you got a free pass for now. He's like, go home, Curtis. And he does. And in that, I feel like Curtis did walk kind of a line between good and evil, or whatever you want to call it. But he seems so consistent on, I don't want to be Frank. I don't want to be Frank.
Yeah. I get that.
I know that this is some real shit we got to take care of. You know?
I have a soft spot for characters that kind of always see the good in people, you know?
Right.
Because I feel like that's honestly like really hard to do.
Yes, it is. Like, it really is.
Like I don't know, like Curtis to me comes off as somebody who kind of just naturally can do that, or is just like that's his natural instinct. but it just to me is a really cool character trait.
Right.
I guess I should say, like, it's almost like Captain America or something. It's like I don't know what it is about that. I'm just like that's cool. It doesn't really make sense to me, but maybe that's why I find it so fascinating. Because I just like.
That's why when Billy Russo makes the phone call to Curtis.
Yeah, he calls Curtis.
He calls Curtis, and Curtis is like, I will give anybody a second chance. But even when he calls Curtis, he's like, can you come down and be with me while I die? And blah, blah, blah. He's like, he pauses and he's like, can you just not call the police? He's like, I won't call the police. That's when you're so far gone.
He's like, I'm gonna call Frank. I'm gonna call Frank. I ain't gonna call the Popo, but I'm gonna call Frank.
Is like, fuck off.
Yeah.
That's when you're alone in the world.
Yeah, that was the final nail in the coffin, as they say.
Yeah, and then Frank comes in, fills him with 2 bullets, and then the whole thing is fucking done. And it's so awesome because like Billy Russo doesn't get this big grand ending where he gets to say his piece and whatever. He just gets fucking. You're done. Mm-hmm. Boom, you're done. That's it.
There was this quote that Pilgrim says. I don't know if it's like I think it's biblical.
It probably is.
But I thought it was cool. And when the Punisher's like standing over him and he's about to like smash his head with something,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Oh, I know what you are now." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "You're the whirlwind."
Yeah.
Which is a callback to a quote he makes in an earlier episode where he says, "He who sows the wind reaps the whirlwind."
Right.
Which I was like, what a cool quote. Like, just like, I don't know where it fucking came from. Probably like some Yiddish proverb or something, but I'm really like, cool. Like, I like that. That's the kind of shit I find interesting about like Pilgrim, and I guess just any other villain too, is like, when they think what they're doing is correct. Yeah. Or when they have some kind of code that they live by. They're not just some lunatic. They like what in their head, everything they're doing is completely optimal, or like they're doing the right thing.
Right. Well, he knew what he was doing was wrong, but the fact that he had some sort of penance for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That he kind of made it okay with himself, or in his head it was. But yeah, I thought it was great. If you've seen season 1, I would say go ahead and check it out, because not just because of continuity, but just because it's I thought it was pretty damn good. It's
a great exploration of Frank's character, and all the characters within there. Except for probably Curtis and, I would say Curtis and Pilgrim are the ones that don't have much of an arc, but their resolve stays the same. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that in that it's worth a watch because it's great.
Yeah, really good hand-to-hand combat.
A lot of good stuff from that.
There's a fucking great scene where Frank just walks into like this Russian gym with nothing. And he just beats the shit out of like 6
bodybuilders.
Yeah, these Russian bodybuilders. He just beats the shit out of them, and it's just great. It's like if you love season 1, check it out. It's definitely good.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts, Ernie?
Just about what we're talking about at the Fyre Festival. If you're a fan of watching a train wreck,
if you like train wrecks, then
seriously, if you like train wrecks, watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to watch just a con man at work. It's so great. Mm-hmm. Watch both. Because, to be honest, you can get a lot of the same information, but the 2 perspectives on it ironically gives you the best perspective of the whole thing. Because you'd see it from 2 different sides. And all these people are just blaming each other, but throughout this whole thing, you're like, well, they all make a pretty good case about how they're all at fault. You know?
Right, yeah.
Okay. And then Punisher season 2, do yourself a favor and watch it before they pull it off of Netflix and Disney Plus takes up all this crap. Like, seriously, watch it.
That's what's gonna happen?
Seriously, watch it. Yes, I do think that's gonna happen. Seriously, watch it because it's gonna happen where you're just watching one and you're just gonna want to binge the whole thing right away. Because as soon as I started watching episode 1, I was like, oh shit, and then you episode 2, and then you're 6 deep, and you're like, oh, I gotta finish this.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so. Yeah. So you can catch us on SoundCloud, Radio Toons Podcast. You can catch us on iTunes, Radio Toons Podcast. YouTube, we're Soho Shuffle. Mm-hmm. Or actually, more specifically, that's me. But this is where the podcast gets posted. If you're listening on just not YouTube, if you're like anywhere else, come check out the YouTube channel. I'm doing this cool new intro. I think it's cool.
It's very cool.
I'm doing a cool new intro for the podcast, which hopefully is going to be up on this episode. But yeah, just check it out and let us know what you think. I'm at Soho Shuffle on Twitter,
and I'm at Ernie's. And if you have anything you'd like to suggest, or comments, questions, anything like that, drop us a line on there.
Yeah, did you go to Fyre Festival? What did you think? Let us know what you thought of Fyre Festival. But yeah, that does it for this week, guys. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.